One of the most in-your-face and yet undiscussed aspects of professional Rainbow Six is the map pool. You pick where you play from a pool of 9 maps to decide where you'll play your opponents, and it's pretty important stuff. It's literally picking your fight. But have you stopped and thought about it? 9 maps? Why 9? Look to the left and you see Valorant and Counter-Strike using 7 maps. You look to the right and you see Call of Duty and Halo using 5-ish for multiple game modes. So why is Siege wholly unique in using its 9 map pool, and why is it actually one of the worst aspects of Pro League? One of the biggest reasons why the 9 map pool is bad is a really simple reason. It's too many maps. From a logistical perspective, there's just too many maps for teams to learn and master compared to how much time there is in the day.
There's only a finite amount of time, and there's already teams that are like Spirit that are good on 5 maps of their 6 map pool. They can't play Vertigo to the highest level either, and you kind of see that the limits are tested generally on that 6th map, on that 7th map.
Having talked to some semi-professional players, one thing that they mentioned with the 9 map pool is that it forces teams to kind of have to make a decision. Are they going to have a deep but small map pool, or go for a more wide but shallow map pool? Because when you factor in work and school and different people's schedules, you just don't have enough time to work on all 9 maps. It just doesn't work. And I know, I hear you, but surely things are different at a professional level. And while yes, actually no, it's true that professional teams get to spend their time playing the game instead of studying or working some other job, but that doesn't magically add hours to the day.
Why don't they just work more on the other map? Like, that's like saying, why don't you just work 7 more jobs full time? I haven't got unlimited time. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You just figured it out. Did that just pop in your brain right there? That when you only have an hour, you can't spend more than that hour on whatever you spend that hour on.
And that time not being magically added to the day is a big deal, because if you look at Counter-Strike, a esport where there is a 7 map pool, you still have a situation where majority, or not even majority, just all the teams have a 5 or 6 map pool for professional teams. These guys, this is Counter-Strike. This is the grandpappy of all TAC FPS esports, and we still don't see teams with 7 map pools at the highest levels.
Bro, we haven't even got to a world, we never will, by the way, where like the top 10 are all good on 6 maps. I mean, look, most teams to this day, perma, there's not many teams like that actually have the balls to like float the perma generally, or perma ban 3 different maps. By the way, notice they're only ever the absolute best teams in the whole world as well who do that.
So if 7 maps is too much for a game like Counter-Strike, where the utility is relatively straightforward, the maps really well known, why would 9 maps result in a higher level of play for Rainbow Six, where we have to think about all those different operators and all those different gadgets and utility? This also has tactical ramifications, since if the point of picking a map in a 9 map pool is to pick one that the opponent is guaranteed to be weak on,
Like, it's going to be a lot more map threes. There's going to be a lot less 2-0 victories, because you would probably think that the punish picks would be so powerful in that kind of veto that it's always going to go to this decider, and then it's just kind of like it's almost like it actually becomes almost like a case for BO1s at that point, because it's like, why are we even playing these first 2 maps if 2 teams' strengths are so opposed on the punish picks to start off a series?
And while teams might like this dynamic, everyone in the big picture actually benefits from higher quality matches. But the teams have to work a little bit harder, yes, but they make more entertaining matches, which gets more viewership, which grows the scene. Now, this does raise the question, why 7 maps for Counter-Strike or Valorant? And the short answer is that it's the best. 5 maps is too few, making for low map variety that'll fatigue viewers, but a theoretically higher level of play on those 5 maps. Any more than 7, and you start facing those logistical challenges that I was talking about. Beyond that, 7 maps just makes for a really clean map ban phase. It's so simple and self-explanatory, it's perfection. Why would you mess with this? 7 maps also gives enough depth that teams can somewhat control where the match takes place but they aren't able to hide a weak map pool entirely. Like, you're gonna get called out for that. A 7 map pool also has enough room for fuckery in the ban phase without making gimmicks the entire point, to the degree where you end up with those best of 3s that end up as best of 1 deciders on map 3. The now infamous FaZe vs. Spirit quarterfinal at the PGL Copenhagen Major highlights this map ban maneuverability really, really well.
So that's where it gets interesting for me, because when it comes to the ban, I'm going to make it that FaZe goes first for this one. FaZe will ban Vertigo because they ban Vertigo every single time, except against Imperial where they banned Overpass. So I actually do think there's a world where you just do the Vertigo ban. It's not the greatest map for the guys from Spirit. So I would say this. History says you will just ban Vertigo and forget about it. I would already, if I'm Carrigan, start there in the veto.
But then, why does Siege have 9 maps if 7 maps is so much better? The answer is because. No, really, that's just the way things have been since year 1, so why change it now? With the start of Pro League, the map pool was actually 11 maps, which was kind of insane when you think about it. It also really sucked because Siege didn't have 11 balanced maps in the pool at the time. And this led to Pro League matches on Planar Favela, even when everyone kind of knew these maps sucked. But this was also Siege in its very infancy with very little idea of what competitive Rainbow Six looked like, or should look like. As time went on, we saw gradual changes as Siege got more established and we figured out what worked. Year 1 Season 3 saw the map pool get trimmed down to 9 maps, and while there wasn't any rationale given for why 9 over just going down to basic 7, this leads me to say Siege has a 9 map pool just because. But you can kind of see the rationale. See, one of the primary arguments in favor of a 9 map pool is that it gives more power to the map ban phase and can offer a little bit more variety than a 7 map pool. Particularly in the context of best of 3s and best of 5s because you're guaranteed to see at least 2 or 3 maps, respectively. So back in the early days, when we were having best of 2s, yeah, best of 2s, you heard that right, or best of 3s for Pro League, the notion of having a 9 map pool so you get that extra variety kind of made sense even if it was a little unnecessary. It also made sense to have these best of 2s or best of 3s because Pro League was a first to 5 and matches were so much faster paced than nowadays, not only due to just the fact that people were kind of running around like headless chickens, but also because the game was quite literally faster. So while it was excessive to have the 11 or 9 map pool, the fact is that the format, in theory, took advantage of those extra maps. And from a viewer perspective, this is a good thing, variety being the spice of life and all that. But in practice, that larger map pool wasn't really taken advantage of. I'll get to that later. In the latter half of 2018, Pro League actually moved to best of 1s, and ESL cut the map pool down from 9 maps to 7, which presumably was because the 9 map pool literally provided no extra value for best of 1s. I mean, it's not like we'll see a rare third map selection when there is no third map at all, or a second map. With best of 3s and best of 5s being saved for international play and major qualifiers, but like the last match of a major qualifier, it made sense to tailor the map pool around the most common type of professional play, which was now best of 1s. It isn't until the start of 2022 Pro League that we see a return to the 9 map pool. And once again, we come to the question of why. And I couldn't tell you, once again. Seemingly, it's because the map pool used to be 9 maps back in the days of best of 3s, and this brings up a big reason why the 9 map pool is bad. It's fucking useless for best of 1s. I kind of hinted at it, but when one of the primary arguments for the 9 map pool is the variety it'll offer in a best of 3 and best of 5 context, that inherently means it's useless in a best of 1 context because we're not seeing those extra maps. We're not guaranteed to see more than 1 map in a game. A majority of Siege's professional play is just, frankly, best of 1s, just across the board. I did the math in a previous video, and a bottom-performing NAL team plays around 15 best of 1s and, at minimum, 2 best of 3s in a calendar year. We have so many more best of 1s being played in this circuit than best of 3s, it's simply irresponsible to tailor the map pool around the best of 3s. This means that for a majority of Siege's year, the 9 map pool simply doesn't factor into the equation at all and only serves to eat up extra time in the map ban phase. When you factor in that another one of the primary arguments in favor of a 9 map pool is map variety for viewers, this actually ends up being just not even a realistic benefit for the 9-map pool because best of ones actually end up limiting map variety. A classic example would be the day of NA Challenger League, which was all Clubhouse. Of course, this isn't exclusive to best of ones because even in the days of best of 3 Pro League, the 9-map pool just wasn't made use of. You didn't see maps like Skyscraper or Coastline until really, really late in their development, and they had been in the map pool for an extended period of time. Instead, what we saw was a whole lot of Border and Oregon.
So Border is almost always a match that has a very exciting contest.
We absolutely cannot allow teams to continuously play Border and Oregon over and over again. It will kill Pro League and it will kill viewership.
So while yes, we can and do have a 9-map pool for a circuit, and in theory it will provide more map variety and benefit the best of 3s with those extra maps for the ban phase, in reality, it's like using a longsword to spread butter on toast. This all combines to create a situation where no one benefits from the 9-map pool. Thanks to the logistical hassle of teams having to master 9 maps when 7 maps is already hard to master as is, the teams don't benefit. The map variety doesn't actually play out how you would assume it does, so the viewers don't benefit. It's not as if every map in the pool is untouchable either. The goal of a map pool is to highlight different types of play and aspects of player skill. From teamwork to gun skill, you're going to get the whole spectrum in a good map pool. And Siege in particular has room to make a cut or two without losing out on that mission. You have multiple maps that are defensive strongholds, multiple maps that are gunfight oriented, and multiple maps that are default where everyone knows how to play them. Clubhouse in Oregon may have been solved for a long time now, but you could make an argument that we only need one of them. There's a million different cases to be made about which maps stay and which maps go, but the point I'm trying to make here is that we can afford to cut the map pool down to 7 without losing out on the big picture goal of the map pool. The added complications of the extra 2 maps just don't justify the added hassle they create for 90% of the situations that we're in. With so few matches in the year being best of 3s, those extra maps are rarely impactful compared to how universal the drawbacks are. The most damning aspect of this is that across the years, we've never seen a good justification for the larger than average map pool. If it were such a good decision to have a 9-map pool over a 7-map pool, we would have seen a lot of good reasoning given to go back to this 9-map pool. But instead, our explanation was just like back in the day. And that's not good enough for a competitive environment where players are playing for tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars.